$24.2 million. That is the money the Washington Commanders flushed down the drain in 2025, paying players who were sitting in the training room. Jaden Daniels, 10 games gone. McLaurin, 7 weeks out. Armstrong, torn ACL. An official study just confirmed Washington was the 6th most injury-hammered team in the entire NFL. But what Peters did in response to that disaster this offseason is what nobody in the DMV is talking about, and I am breaking it down with numbers that will change how you see every move he made. Meanwhile, 2 rookies showed up to minicamp and Quinn could not stop talking. Sonny Styles, the linebacker the Chiefs let slip at pick 6, is already doing things Quinn called a no-brainer from the jump. And Antonio Williams has something that in coaching language is worth more than speed, more than hands, more than anything else on the field. I am telling you exactly what that is in a minute. And there is a running back nobody drafted, just named by Bleacher Report as the most exciting UDFA in the entire NFL. Signed right here in Ashburn. Robert Henry Jr., he has the numbers, he has the burst, and he has one problem that could cost him everything. Let's get into it. A recent study from Casino Guru analyzed exactly how much money NFL teams lost in 2025 to injured players. The combined league total came in at $540 million, and the Washington Commanders landed at number 6 on that list with $24.2 million in salary paid to players who could not take the field. Now, I know that number by itself can feel abstract. So let's put it in real context, player by player, because that is where this gets genuinely dark. Marshawn Lattimore, cap hit of $18 million, the second highest on the entire roster, missed 8 games. That contract alone cost Washington over $7 million in lost productivity. Terry McLaurin, cap hit of $17.2 million, missed 7 games with a quad injury, the first time in his career that McLaurin had lost significant time. Since 2021, Terry had not missed a single game. That is what makes the 2025 injury hit so hard when you feel it. Over $7 million evaporating into the air. Jaden Daniels, cap hit of $8.6 million, 6th on the roster, and he missed 10 games. He suffered 3 separate injuries during the season. He played a full game from start to finish only 4 times. In his second professional season, 1 year removed from the greatest rookie campaign in NFL history. Let me just sit with that for a second. 3 injuries, 10 missed games. The most exciting quarterback this fan base has had in decades, and we got 4 complete games from him. Austin Eckler and Deatrick Wise, both gone by week 2, done for the year. Dorrance Armstrong, the team's best pass rusher, tears his ACL in week 7. Season over. Via Sports Info Solutions, the Commanders lost the equivalent of 222 player game appearances in 2025, and only the Arizona Cardinals had more total points lost from injuries, 266, than Washington's 230. Y'all, that is not bad luck. That is a perfect storm of bad timing, an aging roster, and misfortune chained together across 17 weeks. And here is the key that Peters identified and that everyone needs to understand clearly. Washington in 2025 had one of the oldest rosters in the entire NFL, and an old roster in this sport is a roster that breaks. Not always, but the correlation exists, and Peters saw it with absolute clarity. His response this offseason was direct and calculated. Over a dozen new players signed in free agency, the vast majority of them in their mid-20s, coming off their rookie contracts. New energy, fresh legs, bodies that are not carrying 5 years of elite-level physical wear and tear. That does not eliminate the luck factor. Injuries in football are always going to be part of the game, but it does reduce the structural probability. And in a season where Jaden Daniels' health is literally the difference between playoff contender and owning the top pick in the draft, that risk reduction is worth every ounce of strategy Peters invested. The gap between the 12-5 team that reached the NFC Championship game in 2024 and the 5-12 team that finished with the 7 overall pick in 2026 was not purely about talent, it was about health. And that factor, confirmed now with $24.2 million worth of evidence, is exactly what Peters is attacking at the root. Now, if 2025 was the darkest chapter in this recent story, the early days of 2026 are starting to write something different. And there are two names in particular that Quinn has not been able to stop mentioning since the offseason program opened. Sonny Styles, linebacker, pick number 7 in the 2026 NFL Draft. The story of how Styles ended up in Washington is one of those moments that fans are going to remember. The Chiefs moved from pick 11 up to pick 6, trading with the Cleveland Browns right before Washington's turn. In that moment, Quinn and Peters were watching the linebacker they wanted potentially disappear in front of them. Styles was still available at 6. Kansas City passed on him. Quinn described that moment as literally holding his breath. And when the commissioner announced pick 7, Sonny Styles, Washington Commanders, Quinn said the decision was a super easy one, that he and Peters were genuinely thrilled. That it was one of those selections where there is no doubt in the room at all. Technically, why does Styles fit so well? Because Quinn wants to build a defense capable of handling the modern NFL's tight end and back out of the backfield game. That requires linebackers with elite athleticism, legitimate coverage ability, and sharp instincts for reading the backfield pre-snap. Styles comes with all of that. His lateral movement, his speed to the edge on blitzes, and his football intelligence are those of a player who already looks like he is processing the game a step ahead of everyone around him. And after minicamp, Quinn said everything he has seen from Styles in person has only reinforced what he already knew walking into draft night. That is a rookie who arrives ready. And then there is Antonio Williams, wide receiver, Clemson. Second round of the draft. Quinn used the word feel to describe what he saw in Williams from day one. In coaching language, feel is one of the most valuable words you can apply to a wide receiver. It means the player is not just running the route, he understands why he is running it, what the coverage is doing, when to stop, when to break, when to present himself as a target at the exact moment the quarterback needs an option. Williams has that naturally. And he has it as a rookie before training camp has even started. Quinn talked about his hands, his explosiveness, his ability to run option routes and break in multiple directions. For David Blau's system, which comes from Detroit, where spacing and fast intermediate options are the entire foundation of the offense, Williams looks like a piece designed specifically for that mold. The combination of Styles on defense and Williams on offense is exactly the kind of young talent infusion this roster needed after everything that happened in 2025. Peters and Quinn were not drafting for the immediate present. They were selecting to build something that lasts. And speaking of new pieces on this roster, there is a name that most Washington fans still do not know, but that Bleacher Report just put on the map in a pretty significant way. Robert Henry Jr., running back, UTSA, undrafted, signed as a free agent by the Commanders. Gary Davenport at Bleacher Report called him the most exciting undrafted free agent in the entire NFL heading into 2026. And when you look at his numbers from his final college season, you understand why that headline is not an overstatement. Over 1,000 rushing yards, almost 7 yards per carry, 11 total touchdowns, and 5 runs of 70 yards or more in a single season. Before UTSA, Henry dominated junior college football. At Jones College, he led the entire nation with 1,302 rushing yards and 18 touchdowns in 2021. He was named NJCAA Offensive Player of the Year. That is the kind of production that makes scouts sit up straight. So why did nobody draft him? He is 24 years old, a year older than the typical rookie. He stands 5'9" and weighs 196, and across 3 college seasons, he fumbled 6 times. In this sport, fumbles are the cardinal sin for a running back. That scared teams off. But fam, and this is the important part, the Washington Commanders running back room in 2026 is not exactly stacked. The team's leading rusher in 2025 was Jackery Krosky Merritt, a 7th round pick with 805 yards and 8 touchdowns in his rookie season. Washington also signed Rashad White and Jerome Ford in free agency and drafted Katrin Allen out of Penn State in the 6th round. That is not a backfield that gives you confidence. That is a backfield where a player like Henry, explosive, with real burst, with a history of chunk runs, can make a genuine push for a roster spot. Draft analyst Lance Zierlein projected Henry as a 7th round pick or priority free agent. He described his lower body as having a wiggly quality, that ability to make sudden cuts and evade tacklers in tight spaces. He noted that Henry is quicker in short areas than he is in a straight line, that he still needs to develop his ability to read run lanes, and that the fumble history is going to be the primary obstacle. All of that is fair, but in a backfield where the starter put up 805 yards as his top credential, Henry has a real opportunity. And if he brings that college burst and elusiveness into training camp in Ashburn, the running back conversation in Washington could get interesting a lot faster than people expect. 2025 cost this organization $24.2 million in injuries. It cost 10 games of Jaden Daniels. It cost Dorrance Armstrong's ACL. It cost an entire season of what could have been. But it also taught this franchise something. It taught Adam Peters what happens when you build with older players and hope that luck holds. And his response was to systematically rejuvenate this roster in free agency, in the draft, all the way down to the undrafted free agents. Sonny Styles at 7, Antonio Williams in the 2nd round, Robert Henry Jr. arriving hungry from UTSA, OTAs starting right now. This team is not where it wants to be yet, but it is building in exactly the right direction, and I am not going anywhere until we get there. If this video helped you see the full picture, drop that like right now. That is what keeps us doing this every single day in the DMV and beyond. Subscribe if you are new here, and tell me down below, do you think the Commanders can stay healthy in 2026, or is the injury curse coming back to haunt us again? Raise hail, see you tomorrow.